with a dog who has had, you know, more aggressive behaviors with people touching them and stuff like that in the past, we want to, there's like a, from going from that completely intolerant of being handled to tolerant of being handled, the in-between area is switching from aggressive to avoidant. You know what I mean? And then once we get to where the aggressive behaviors are pretty much completely eradicated and he's doing mainly avoidance, then we can start to whittle back on, okay, now you can't avoid either. You just have to tolerate it and allow me to do it. I know, are you ready? Good boy. Oh, you can get that one. Sit. You have to go in there to get it. Here. Good job. Sit. That's fine too. I'll take that. Good job, buddy. So I'm using the down position to help keep him stabilized. Good. So that way I'm not having to physically wrestle with him. No. Down. Where do you have that? 20. He's just being very dramatic about it. No. Down. When they like pre-twitch, it cracks me up. Good boy. Very nice. Good job. He said, oh man. Very good. This is already a huge improvement. I don't think he would have let me do this a couple weeks ago. Good job. Nice work, Ben. Did you get it? Good boy. Very nice. So for this, I'm going to turn it up. We'll do about a 60, so a lot higher. Reason being, I'm only going to be correcting if he actually tries to snap at me, right? So as I'm working with him, if he snaps at me at any point or anything like that, we'll tell him no and we'll give him a correction for it. Since he's not too proficient on like place, because we haven't really worked on it with him a ton, if he tries to get off the bed, I'm just going to guide him back up there. Do you guys have any questions about this before I start working with him on it? Okay. So him pulling away, I'm not going to correct him for that. And right now, I'm even going to allow him to do it. Like I'm going to let go when he does it. Mainly because since historically he hasn't been too tolerant of people handling him and doing stuff like this, I would much rather him be avoidant than offensive. So I'm okay with him saying, please don't touch my foot right now, versus him immediately going to like an aggressive behavior. As I see improvement where I feel like he's really not as uncomfortable and he's getting a lot more comfortable with it, then I'll be a little bit more firm on if he tries to pull away, I just won't let go until he finally yields, and then we'll go from there. And like these moments where if I'm messing with his foot and he stops panting, or I can tell he's getting a little bit tense, I'm not going to stop in those moments until he actively makes a choice one way or the other. I want to see him choose to disengage and leave, which was a fine choice. I'll allow him to do that. Or if he would have instead gotten more offensive and tried to snap at me, then I would tell him no and I'd correct him. Eventually, are we going to not allow him to turn away? Yes, Yeah. So like I said, with a dog who has had, you know, more aggressive behaviors with people touching them and stuff like that in the past, we want to, there's like a, from going from that completely intolerant of being handled to tolerant of being handled, the in-between area is switching from aggressive to avoidant. You know what I mean? And then once we get to where the aggressive behaviors are pretty much completely eradicated and he's doing mainly avoidance, then we can start to whittle back on, okay, now you can't avoid either. You just have to tolerate it and allow me to do it. Good boy. But part of this is, which it's funny because for whatever reason, Rottweilers, like when it comes to handling stuff, once we start working on it, they do tend to do better for me than their own owners for a little bit. And I just think it's because you guys are fighting more of an uphill battle because he's been able to bully you guys for a little bit. You know what I mean? So with me, the only emotional history he has is me making him do things and listen, right? We saw that the first lesson where he was really kind of being hard-headed about some stuff and I wouldn't let him get away with it. But with you guys, he's had a little bit more like practice being a jerk. And so it's easier for him to revert back to that. Good job. Yeah. Yes.
When we do go to that, because it's already stressful, should we just like try to prevent some more stress by just asking for it to just be females?
You can, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that for now, especially as we're working on building up his tolerance and stuff. Something I generally do for dogs like him is see if you guys are willing to, at some point along the line, bring him in for like a daycare day, but it would be mainly focused around having our staff do all of this, so it's complete strangers doing it. You know what I mean? So it kind of simulates more of like a vet setting because it's people he doesn't know going right into immediately handling him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. And like David, the owner of the company, then, you know, it would be another male that he would be able to work on this with him. And there, he didn't really do anything other than flail, so I'm not going to correct him or anything for that necessarily. I'm just going to try again. You put your butthole right on my hand. You sat right down on it. And here, again, I'm not gonna seed ground, so when he got weird, if I were to stop and pull away, then I am reinforcing his body language that tells me to stop, right? But I'm also not necessarily going to push further and try to poke the bear even more. I'm just gonna pause and basically be like, we'll just wait here until you choose to either disengage and relax, or you choose to do something silly in which I can correct you for it. Those little noises, I just ignore. I don't care about what noises he makes, I care about what behaviors he does. Boy, so much better. Okay, hold on. I gotta feed it in there for you. I'm helping. I promise I'm helping. You're welcome. So dramatic. Good boy. Oh, that was a burp. So here I'm just pausing. Mm-hmm. He was weighing his options. You know what I mean? He was like, I don't like it. What am I going to do about it? And so that's where I wasn't going to continue antagonizing him and doing other things. I was just going to wait to see what he chose. And in that moment, he chose to take his paw away, which I let him do that for now. I'm okay with that. That was a better choice than him trying to snap at me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those really tight ones. If you bring him in with one of these, then they'll use this one. Yeah, most of the time. I suppose I can't guarantee that, but I don't see any reason why they would require you to put a different one on him. Good boy. It's always you Rotties. Good boy. Good job. Anyways, like, it cracks me up how much he loves just milk bones. Like, just, I know, just plain milk bones. It cracks me up. The little baby ones at that. Good boy. No. Down. I know. You had to give it a try. I respect it. I said, dang it. Right, pass the whole exam. Good. Well, you almost gave it to me in that moment. Again, I'm just pausing. Made a decent choice in that moment. Are you gonna have a temper tantrum? Oh, okay. Good boy. I can't give it to you if you smush your... Okay, there you go. Nice job, nice job. And you'll notice that while him being able to pull away and choose avoidance in the moment, part of what also decreases the likelihood of him continuing to do that is the fact that I still then go back and do it again. You know what I mean? So it's like, just because you choose avoidance in that moment doesn't mean that you win altogether and that I stop trying to grab your foot. Have you seen your toenails, buddy? I know. This is important. Nice try. The biggest pieces of this being successful right now is the muzzle and the leash, because it keeps it from being, excuse you, it keeps it from being a wrestling match, because if he decides to leave, all I have to do is grab the leash to bring him back. And obviously the muzzle makes it so that I never have to stop and give up because of a safety issue. This could even be done successfully without using an e-collar or anything like that, just as persistence. But the e-collar obviously gives us a little bit of a leg up to giving clear consequences for the behaviors that we don't like. Mail's here. It's probably not even our mail. It's always the other unit and they throw it in ours. Good. Nice work. Come back. Up you go. It was very dramatic. He said, "She's still holding my foot." Good job. You're not done yet. Back up you go. Good. Good job. So there I didn't let him choose avoidance. And eventually he complied and he said, "Fine, just take my foot." Just holding it. Holding it mainly, and then sometimes messing with it. Get him used to toenails, between pads. Good. And again, a big piece of this being successful is all the leverage that we've built up prior to this, where he has indirectly learned to be a lot more just respectful as a whole and compliant to you guys and to me. And so that gives us a higher vantage point when we start doing drills like this. Good. Good job. You can't leave. Good boy. Isn't it hilarious how you can like actively see them like thinking and processing and choosing? Yeah, he's like, Yes, he gets his little furrowed brow up here. Gotta get some Botox. He said my wrinkles remind me of what I've gone through and how strong I am. You know, this torture is just so terrible. It's so bad. Yeah, good job. There you go. Mm-hmm. Good job. You're a good boy. Good. He's like, this might be the most treats I've ever gotten in a lesson before. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Good. Because it's just overall increasing his tolerance of things happening to him that he doesn't like. The goal with a dog like this, dogs that just generally don't do great with handling, is not to make him like it. That is an unreasonable goal. He will likely never like strangers poking him and pinching him and prodding him and messing with his ears and doing all that kind of stuff. But the goal is that you need to understand how to tolerate it and behave appropriately, right? The same way that, like, I hate the dentist. I don't like going to the dentist. It's unreasonable for me to ever think I will like it. But I have to do it and I have to go. And the same thing with him. Good boy. Yeah, because you imagine, you know, if someone can do this, and, you know, this is like the real tight rubber band thing they put on to draw blood, and then they can come up and they can pinch him, and then they can do all of this stuff, and he can tolerate it, then pretty likely he's going to manage it. He's going to accept it. Because having to drug him or sedate him or stuff for routine vet visits is just, we don't want to have to do that for him. We don't want to have to do that long term. Boy. Yeah, yeah. For a hangnail, they had to knock you out for, look at him, he's like, they had to knock you out for a hangnail? That's so silly. Oh, it's right here. He said, I am embarrassed. Do you want your treat? There you go. It's a good boy. No, I had, did I tell you about my other Rottweiler client that ended up getting that bloat condition where their stomach flips? So it was wild. His name was Coda, and he started out training, I would say like a little more of a severe version of Benny's same behaviors, just amplified quite a bit. So the handling, it was a little bit more of a rocky road than we're getting right now with you. But we worked quite extensively on it because it was a similar thing. He couldn't go to the vet without being fully sedated and stuff like that. And they emailed me a couple months after we finished training and told me that, unfortunately, he had bloat where his stomach flipped. And that, as I'm sure you guys know, is like super serious, very scary. And they immediately rushed him to the emergency vet, and Coda was completely tolerant of everybody dealing with him, getting him in the back, without them being there, doing everything they needed to. And for him to have had as many issues as he had, and then let alone add on the extra stress of all of that on top of it, they were like, we are 100% confident that if we hadn't fixed his handling issues, like, he would be dead. Because there's no way they would have been able to get him in and be able to help him as quickly as they did. So it's like, those are the situations that, of course, you never want to have happen, but we need to prepare as if they could happen. Oh, it's right here. There you go. Good job. Good job. That's good. Take it right back up. you should always be the one deciding when you're done with the foot, not him. So if he rips it out of your hand, that's okay. You just pick it right back up. Very nice.
Good boy. He's like, oh yeah.
Very good. Because even for like his overall health and stuff, you guys feeling like you can really familiarize with how his body is, that helps to detect potentially as he gets older, like any new lumps or any new, you know what I mean? Because if you're able to do kind of these full body, like touch all over things at least a few times a week or once a week, then you can be like, oh, I found this today and I just did, you know, a snout to tail assessment a week ago. And so I know at least this lump is relatively new. And then you can take him to the vet and have him take a look at it. Very good. That was good how he complied there. He's not the most coordinated. He's settled in quite nicely. Good job, buddy.
I'm sure you felt it a lot too in the beginning. If you touch him, you could see like his whole shoulder flinch and all that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot of the time.
Yeah, he would get real tense and uncomfortable, you could tell. And now look at you. Nice and relaxed. And again, that's just like the maintaining like the super clear boundary. So like this week, you guys can definitely keep working on this with him at home with you guys, but make sure that even if, you know, you get to a point where you're like, oh, like there's no way he's gonna try to snap or do anything silly, still just in case for a little bit, make sure you put the muzzle on first to do it. Because we really want to cover our bases, that he's not able to regress, perform one of those behaviors, and then be successful with it. So make sure that you have the muzzle on, you've got your leash on, and you've got the e-collar on in case you need to correct for any of the snapping or anything. And to like specify even more so, it's like the snapping would indicate and encompass kind of any like aggressive movement like towards your hand. So like the 2 times that I corrected him, I had a hold of his hand and he just kind of like hit my hand with his mouth and did like a little snarl thing. And whether you're like, oh, I don't think he was trying to bite or not, it's that commitment behind it where he's trying to intimidate you to stop doing what you're doing that we want to nip in the bud. For instance, like if you grab his foot at one point and he's like doing a low grumble, but he's like looking away because he's uncomfortable and annoyed, but he's not actively doing anything to try to intimidate you to stop, we would let that go. So it's really more about like, what is his intention in the moment? Is he trying to be offensive and say, hey, knock it off, let go of my foot? Or is he being like, I'm uncomfortable, but I am tolerating it type of thing? Yes. And, you know, the roddy rumble that everybody talks about is somewhat accurate in that they can be more vocal dogs, but not to the extent that you'll see on social media where, you know, the dog is like, "Hurr," every time someone grabs their foot. And so that is a dog who is completely over threshold, overstimulated, not comfortable with what's happening. And people chalk it up to that's just how Rotties are, when in reality they can be like this when you're doing handling. It just, you got to know how to get them there. What would you say, like, what are the biggest goals for Margaret over the 5 sessions? What do we need the most?
Amanda said, like, bonding with people. What was the other one? Like, overstimulation, getting her to, like, just calm down.
Yeah.
Especially in, like, high stimulation
Yeah.
settings. And then her mouthiness. I mean, sometimes she can still get mouthy. Even in the kennel when you're going to leash her up, like,
Yeah.
it's a lot sometimes. She'll just, like, mouth at you no matter what. Like, she just grabs you with her mouth.
Okay, okay. How does she do when you guys walk her?
good.
She is fine on a walk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you'll give her, like, one good correction, she's fine after that. She's
Okay.
not a bad walker. I think it's just inside the kennel really is a lot
Sure.
of the issue. Yeah. Or even inside of a home, she's kind of just like,
Okay.
but.
Okay. Why don't we work, let me see. I actually have a kennel open there. Does she get reactive like on leash when she sees dogs? Like if you're out and about or not really?
I don't think so, no.
No? Okay.
I mean, she goes to players with, like, she's like one of our dog select, like, who we use for selective dogs. So
Yeah.
she's great with other dogs. It's just like,
Yeah.
in the high stimulation things is when she gets
Yeah.
a lot. Oh my gosh, that dog is beautiful.
I know. That's Clyde. I'm actually gonna move Clyde over here because we're gonna borrow his kennel, and we'll kind of maybe recreate, you know, going in to like get her gear on and do all that kind of stuff and see if we can get some of that under control. All right, Margaret, I'll take her. Thank you. Come on, girly.
I have this, just so I don't forget. It's for a new fan.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Come here. Come back in. No. 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 So I'm gonna enforce just basic rules with the doorway of going in too. So if I open my door, no, and she tries to come out, I'm going to tell her no and give her a correction. Because how she behaves, how do your doors work when you go into their kennel
They
areas?
just come out.
They come out like this? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
It's like you have like a thing that you slide up and then it comes out.
Okay, perfect. So this is something that you can easily recreate because how she behaves before you even enter is going to greatly impact what she's going to do once you go in there. So we don't want her busting out and you guys trying to like sneak in, you know what I mean, to be able to do what you need to do. And then when I come in, oh really, Margaret? She said, I know what to do here. And then if I come out, no. Same thing, she's not allowed, no, to follow me out of the kennel. Even if I leave the door ajar or anything like that. You can go ahead, you're fine. Oh, well this will be a good distraction anyways. Does she ever get reactive in the kennel? Like dogs walk by or anything? No? Okay, cool. Oh, hey, come on in. What we're doing now is we'll start this week with like the behavior of her in the kennel, because I know they said that's kind of a big issue for her. So what we're doing now is working on like the kennel threshold. So basically we're opening our door. She tries to come out or anything without permission, we're telling her no, we're giving her correction.
They're always perfect here.
Always. Much better that time. No. Come. So until she hears the word okay, she's not allowed to come out, regardless of what the door is doing, anything like that, whether the leash is on or not. The bed, it's not that she has to stay on the bed, it's just she can't go through the threshold. So, okay. Then she can come out. We'll put her right back in. Take all of our things off. Much better. I had her at 76 for that. Because I realized, I mean, as I was working with her, I was like, this girl, she's eating this like it's a potato chip or something. But, and the danger with, like you said, with her even going after the other dog, it took until like 80 or so to really get her. Yeah. The danger with a dog like her that has that really like intense impulse, overstimulated, like conflict type problem is that if you inch up multiple corrections, you can almost kind of like fuel it. So for her in those moments, whether it's like, and whether, if you guys want to continue to have her in play group, I'll leave that up to Amanda, and stuff like that. But what I would recommend is I have this at 100. And if she does any of that nonsense, just really nice firm correction. And we'll do socials with her here. I think that would be pertinent, and have her with some other dogs and see if we can get her to understand the art of minding her own business when the other dogs are around, and, letting them figure out their own problems without having to jump in on it all the time. But I will say that that is generally kind of a breed trait of these dogs, is that they want to be in the mess that's happening. So we can, suppress it and control it to a certain degree, but it will be something that's going to need to be managed long term. It's not something that we'll be able to like address in the sessions, and then if she gets adopted out, they'll never see it again, type of thing. Okay. Good job, Margaret. I know, look at you. We know you've got it in ya. We know you've got it in ya. Come here. Come here. I was gonna say, she looks a little hivey. Very good. All right, I'm going to, with her in there, I'm going to see if I can let a couple dogs out. See how she responds to like if any of them play or do anything. There we go. I knew Sally would liven it up. Splash zone with Shadow. That's slobber. Sally, don't be rude. So if she does any like sudden charging of the kennel door, any type of that excited, like I want to be involved, you can see she's really considering it,
Yeah.
then I'm going to correct her for that. You're right. Yes, yeah. Absolutely. You're right. How about this?
Right.
Right. Do you think I could talk to you? That is okay. Because that was like a very normal, like, oh, hey, hi, how are you? Yeah. He said, wow, amazing. Oh, wow. That was a good test, my dear. Very nice. Cool. Okay, come on, Margaret. Wander around a bit, see what you get into. This ham.
He said, I've had a bad day today.
How's Pop-Tart been?
It's been a week with Pop-Tart.
Uh-oh.
He's just...
I heard that you have a story to tell me about Pop-Tart and some...
I have a video.
Oh, even better!
We have a couple things.
It's not bad.
No, we
It's not
can't.
bad.
We have a
It's not
couple
that
things
bad.
to address.
Yes.
So,
One is the walking thing.
so Sunday,
Yes.
Okay.
he was my pack walk partner.
Okay.
Okay. Real, just, never settled, never did any of that. We're
Okay.
in the middle of the group. I should have really been at the end and been
Sure.
able to.
Sure.
So I did a lot of, I'm stopping to like reset him.
Sure.
Just so much.
Okay.
So the first mile and a half was just our normal whatever, some correction.
Mm-hmm.
The second mile and a half,
Yeah.
the whole mile and a half
Okay.
was him, I'm gonna guess maybe correcting himself when he got too far, turning circles.
Okay, the circle
Yes.
line.
And Amanda's saying that now he's been doing that just during normal walks.
When I took him out to walk him, he
Okay.
was still doing it Sunday afternoon.
Okay. Okay.
And then
Were you giving him any corrections throughout this part at all?
right here when I'm videoing, no.
Okay.
Before I had,
He's like, hi, I'm getting in
After
trouble right now.
I was like, I don't know, because he just kept spinning in these circles and I felt horrible. Like,
Okay.
I'm like, we broke him. Like, he is completely broken. What is happening?
No, we didn't break him. We're just seeing what was always there manifest a little differently.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Okay.
So it's a milder version, because think of how he would have been
He
behaving.
has now, since he's now actually calming in other places, and he's now being like, walks, can't rest, must
Yeah,
go.
must
Yeah,
go.
well, and we've always
Don't pull,
known
don't
that,
keep-
like, for him, it's like a overstimulation thing, too, you know, that he can't settle
Yeah.
himself.
And that was how I felt the entire 3-mile walk with him. He
Yeah.
was just like always like looking at me and looking at what should I do?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I should just calm down and walk, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, and
it
with
was a stressful walk, I feel, for him.
So with him like doing the circles like that, something to keep in mind too is that by the time he's up there and he's doing the circle, a correction should have already happened because he had already broken the rules. So I think if
And
we're
when he passed me the first times, I was,
Yeah.
and then I felt like, I'm not gonna lie, I felt
Yeah.
bad because it was like, like it would have been.
Sure.
Correct.
Sure.
Like I think he would have just flopped on the ground and not moved. At
Sure.
that point.
sure.
Like,
And I think no, go ahead.
When I was walking after that, she told me about that.
Yeah.
I knew. So I got him out on the first walk, and he did it, but he didn't cross me. He was like doing this.
Sure.
He'd come back, and then he'd do this, and he'd come back. I'm like, oh,
Sure.
great. So then I would stop, and he would sit as soon as I stopped.
Mm-hmm.
I would stay a minute, start walking again,
Mm-hmm.
and he stopped doing it.
Okay.
So then
Okay.
he was walking fine there and fine back, but
Okay.
he did it right in the initial.
In the beginning,
Yeah.
when he had probably a little bit more
Amanda
energy.
was saying that she feels like it almost might be like where he doesn't understand that a leash correction is the same as his e-collar correction.
Sure.
It's almost like his brain isn't understanding that, because I think that we also, I mean, at least for me, I've been trying to walk him without the star mark, and because we're using the e-collar for walking.
Sure.
And so I don't know if he's understanding that the correction for him is the same as when he has a star mark on and we give him the leash correction.
Sure,
I don't know
sure.
if he's like correlating those two things together.
Well, it could be so. what I'm anticipating it probably is a combination of maybe after we're giving the e-collar corrections, we're not making sure that he's getting back in position to show him the true success in the alternative. So basically, like, he breaks the boundary, we say no, we correct him, and then maybe he ends up just waiting up there or never actually yielding and coming back in position, and we just continue forward. And so to him, the e-collar correction almost seems pointless. So it can cause more issues and more anxiety then, because he's getting corrected for what he thinks is no reason, because we never show him, hey, this is how you avoid a correction by staying here. And then, yes, a little bit more follow through. And it could be that coupled with even what you, I think, started to describe of like, then you just kind of like get inconsistent with the corrections because you feel bad about feeling like correct him a lot. And listen, I'm glad you're honest. We want honesty here. I don't want you to lie to me.
We won't zap you for your honesty.
Yes, I want you to lie. I want you to be honest with me. With something, but there's twofold to that, because I agree we shouldn't have to be like correcting him over and over again. So there's something that is misfiring somewhere. So I think that it's probably it's just him. No, I was kidding.
He is the misfire.
He is the misfire. I think that there's two aspects that we need to tighten up on. One is we need to make sure that he's truly understanding why he's getting corrected, right? And understanding how to behave in order to not get corrected, okay? So that way he can make those active choices to do the right thing.
Right.
And I think the other thing, and that could be what I was talking about, where maybe we're not showing him enough exactly where he's supposed to be. And then the other piece of it could be that the corrections we're giving him are not high enough.
Okay.
And I think that it's important to note that his response in the moment that he gets corrected is not what determines whether the correction was effective. It's how he behaves after. Okay, so the whole point of punishment and corrections in dogs is that it decreases the behavior from happening again. If we see no decrease in the behavior happening, then it was not an actual punishment. Does that make sense?
So if we're only doing it like 30 every single time.
Yes, and he may be vocalizing, and he may be jumping, and he may be having what we think is an aversive experience, but if his behavior doesn't prove that by him changing his behavior in the future, then it wasn't actually aversive.
Cranked it up maybe a little.
I think that it's a combo. I think that it was probably maybe a little bit of lack of clarity on his part, especially because we know that those pack walks are where he struggles the most. And then I think it was also a little bit of not as much chutzpah on your end of like, no, we're fixing this.
Yeah.
We're not struggling the whole 3 miles. Like, we're fixing this.
Defense. She's got a dog behind her and a dog in front of her.
Yeah.
When if the natural thing to do, if I was doing it, would be to make him stop and sit, and then start him off again, or just
Sure.
slow down the walk until he's back here.
Sure.
But there's so much going on, and so it's like,
Yeah.
and so she couldn't do that because then the other ones were
Right.
always.
Sure.
I did it a few times, but I really should have just turned him and walked to the end and got behind you.
Right.
You know, at the end.
Yeah.
And
Or
then let
like
him-
like we were saying, like bring him off to the side and make him sit or down or something, and just watch everybody go by. Just settle your brain for a moment, you know?
Because he doesn't get a reward. I know
Yeah.
it sounds like a dumb thing to say.
Sure.
So like we've always, on our other dogs, it's like all about reward when they look at you. Reward
Yes.
when they,
Yeah.
and we're not rewarding him at all. His
Yes.
reward is not getting zapped.
Yeah. Well, a little bit, yes. Yeah, and his reward too. The thing with him is that because he's so motivated by food, that it spikes. It's less that and more that we're trying to get a calm mind. Food does not create a calmness within him. So if we're using food, we're just keeping him in that overstimulated state because he's so high drive for it that we're not getting what we want out of the experience, which is for Pop-Tart to be able to relax. The food almost becomes like distraction, almost more so. Well, of course he's not, you know, losing his mind on everything else because the food is there. But the moment you take the food away, we're still left with the same problem of him being like the iPad kid that's like, next swipe, you know, like what do I do, you know?
When I take him back to the kennel, then I reward him with the food.
Yes.
Once everything's off of him and
Sure.
he's on his bed,
And that's fine.
he gets the food.
Yep.
But it's funny because we've seen, and I know you know, some of them, when we train like that,
Yeah.
they get obsessed with it.
Yes.
Then they will demand it. It's like they're sitting there waiting, like, here, I'm looking at you, you better give me
Yes.
or I'm going to jump on you.
It's a slippery slope. Freight was like
Some
that.
do it and some don't. But
All right, Pop, come.
He's like, oh, we're actually training.
Let's go. Hello, is anyone there? We work with a shelter, a county shelter nearby us, with dogs that come in that either have certain issues behaviorally or are a little bit more out of control. And so we work with getting the dogs to where they're a little bit more well managed to be able to be adopted out then more successfully. And what's nice is that generally when the dogs come to work through the sessions, a lot of the different volunteers come as well. So they get a lot of education that they can apply to the other dogs in the situations and in the shelters as well too. This is Pop-Tart. He's trying his best. You, step forward. You've been chosen. Here you go.
You.
So what I want you to keep in mind is that, again, the rules are if his butt passes you, if he tries to dart in front, or if he pulls egregiously out to the left, you'll tell him no, you'll tap him. And then what I want you to do is when you say come then to reset him, I want you to give a little bit of leash help to really guide him back where he should be.
Pull him back.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. The
Kind of
leash
give him
is
a pull.
the leash is basically the last step of the equation.
Okay.
You say no, you hit your button, you say come, and then you use your leash to help him
Okay.
if necessary. Ideally what happens is kind of, well, of course we get to where there's no corrections at all, right?
Literally.
Unpaid actor. Is we get to where there's no corrections necessary at all, but kind of that middle ground is we'd like to see that if he has to get corrected, he knows how to fix it. You know what I mean? Rather than the confusion we were getting.
I saw it
So
too.
go ahead, tell him come, and then just go ahead and start going with him.
Come.
Very nice.
Right, thinking, is that dog? Is that a dog?
You're right.
What is that thing? I don't know.
I mean, this is certainly better than we started with.
he didn't crowd you at all.
He didn't.
Right now either. I'm wondering if it's just being away from like getting that concussion time.
Honestly, it sounds like the most times he's struggled is when it's, again, very chaotic situations. But we even took him to Edgewater last time, and he did better, but
Scooter children accident happened right in front of him.
he really did.
And he just really sat there.
That we could not have created a better scenario for him, actually. Paige, we had him like pulled off into the grass right on the path of Edgewater, and there were like 2 children on scooters, which is like a double dose of hard for him.
She is young, but her behaviors are very concerning.
Yeah. Go ahead and turn right.
Because I know, like, at least with Pop-Tart, we can say more than likely his behaviors are concerning, but I don't fear for like anyone besides like kids.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's things I fear, but with Alice, I wholeheartedly feel like
Well, the difference is that with Pop-Tart,
she's full on
socially he can be very well controlled. Again, it is a reasonable expectation that like, okay, just don't allow him to be around kids. That is something that's easy to control for the most part. And even when it's not that he can't be existing around kids. We did that last time. Like kids are running around and playing. The scooter incident of 2024. You know, all of that happened and he's fine. Whereas with Alice, it would appear that she is like seeking out
Yes.
the,
Yeah, she's seeking out something.
there's like
To make
intention
her
to do
prey.
harm,
Yes. Yes.
which is a very, very different thing.
Yes, and that's
And if she already had a family, I would be telling them, we can work on this, we can get it to a good place and get it under control. But if she doesn't have a family yet, then that's a very different issue.
you could see her though being a dog where if she's in an over-aroused state with children, that they would become her prey. Truly.
Oh yeah, remember that predatory drift we talked about last time?
Yeah.
Where it's like they get into that mode, and then anything that's like high arousal or high excitement, they can flip very easily from I'm in play mode. Because think about it, when a dog is in play mode, what are they doing? They're running and they're chasing, and they might be doing a little nibbling and doing all that kind of stuff. The beginning of a prey sequence is chase, apprehend, but then it ends with kill and eat.
Yeah.
Right? So that those last two little bits of ending the prey sequence are the only thing that makes play and prey different. You know what I mean? And so when you have a dog that is that intense, that's why a lot of dogs with really high prey drive don't play well with little dogs. Because that switch from I'm playing with you to now all of a sudden I want to kill you is like so fine, you know? And it's not something that makes them inherently bad, but when we're dealing with rescue dogs again, and we're the ones responsible for deciding, should we be putting this dog out into the world in the hands of people who are likely not experienced dog handlers, who are not going to be super smart and all that kind of stuff, no offense. But that's kind of all the things you have to lay out and think about. And that's where, like we talked last time, it's not that, you know, it's easy to make choices on which dog should be behaviorally euthanized and which one shouldn't. But you have to think of like all the what ifs and always prioritize the safety of humans over, you know, the dogs at that point.
And I would say too, as a shelter, we also have, there's a certain level of liability we have as well too.
Oh, 100%.
Our general thing is, if we don't feel like they are safe for the public to handle, like if we professionals and volunteers cannot handle this dog itself, how do we think just a Joe Schmo on the street is going to handle?
Yeah.
And so the worst thing that could happen is she go to a home, attack someone, then they try to sue us. Well, what happens if all of our memos about her say high prey drive, wants to attack every dog she sees?
Exactly.
Then that means that we would look liable then because we saw these behaviors but still let her get adopted.
Yeah.
So then here we are in a lawsuit,
Right.
and downhill from there. And
Oh yeah, and that's where you kind of then have to look at it as like, okay, if the chances of her getting adopted are super low anyways, and she's continuing to deteriorate in a shelter environment, what's more humane?
That's what's happening because she wasn't doing that prey thing in the beginning.
Yeah.
She was just sort of walking, you know, she did it sometimes, but it wasn't
Sure.
like just hunting.
Well, and how old did you say she is now, though?
It's like 2 or 3.
well, and
She may have grown, she may have matured into it, because that really intense behavioral, like genetic predisposition to these really strong instinctual, like breed-specific behaviors generally hit anywhere from like 8 months to 2 years old is when they really come out, you know? So
Timing thing too. I mean,
absolutely.
Do you think it might have not have happened if she didn't?
It's not that it wouldn't have happened because you can't change biology. It's that if she was in a house, again, who was skilled enough to recognize it and get it under control right away, you may have had better control over it. Or it very likely she could have been in a house who, again, doesn't have the knowledge, doesn't have the ability to diagnose that, and then she would have still became the dog that she is, and then hurt something or someone, and then maybe ended up at your shelter anyways. You know what I mean? Like it is, unfortunately, that's just kind of the reality of it.